welcome back into another episode of Where the Game Lives On, the official podcast of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, Season 3, Episode 22, day of release. We're now in June. It's Wednesday, June 5th on day of release. Man, I mean, it's just, sometimes it amazes me how quick summer comes up on us. I was looking outside the other day. It was like 8:45, 8:40-ish. I was like, man, there's still some daylight out, which is just crazy to me. But summertime, very, very busy time for us. We're really excited, though, to kind of get things rolling, and kind of already has been behind the scenes here at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, as we have a few events here coming up, and also the Price Cutter Charity Championship kicking up into full swing. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. Any of our repeat listeners, thanks for joining as well. I'm your host, Noah Tucker, coming to you with another solo special episode today. Let's go. I need a soundboard that I can hit like a little solo special. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, what's new with me? We've been very busy around here. We've had some golf events going on for the Hall of Fame, but man, I've been watching some softball, man. I've been watching softball. Let me tell you what, College World Series, Women's College World Series is electric. It is insane. I mean, the field is so small, right? And the pitching is so insane with all the movement that they put on these pitches. There's a rise and there's a drop ball, and the bats are insanely hot, like just insanely, just have a lot of pop in them. It's crazy. The games are absolutely electric. And Oklahoma City, I don't know what it is about that town, but they love their sports. You know what I mean? They love the Thunder. A lot of OU fans through there. But the College World Series, like the atmosphere is just so cool. And the games, I think, have been very, very competitive throughout. So, I love watching that in the summertime. I love watching the Men's College World Series as well. It's just those storylines, right? That you follow, like whether it's, an underdog team or, maybe there's a team trying to do what is it? OU softball is like, they were trying to go for a 4-peat or something, or a 3-peat or something crazy like that. I don't know. I recently saw, speaking of storylines, a Division III baseball program. You might have saw this on social media somewhere. Division III baseball program. I can't remember. I want to say they were in Alabama, maybe. Their school is closing permanently. Their university closed permanently at the end of May. And their baseball program made the Division III College World Series. So they were literally playing for a university that no longer existed. But they made the D3 World Series, and then I think they ended up getting eliminated. They didn't win the whole thing, but still just a crazy thing there. And going back to this, the softball, I mean, it's just, man, it's so cool to just kind of, see the support behind it, right? And getting to watch all the games, on ESPN, and been watching some softball, been playing some softball too. Got the slow pitch going. That's not as electric, right? I kind of feel like one of those, I don't know. I don't know if washed up is the right word, or, intramural, try hard or whatever, but I've been playing some slow pitch as well. We'll get into some sports topics though today. I think one of the biggest debates right now, everybody's talking about in the sports world, is Caitlin Clark, right? In the getting into the thick of the WNBA season here, you flip on, the sports talk shows and everything, and everybody's talking about Caitlin Clark, and obviously she got fouled hard here recently, and that was a big deal. I tell you what, we never get political on this podcast or get controversial, and we're not going to. We're just, looking at what's going on, and here's where I stand on it. For those that listen to our podcast, try to get our opinions and breakdowns in sports. Man, I want to see the WNBA grow. I want to see it get more support and see more viewership, more fans start to take interest in the game. And I think that is happening, right? I think that's why we're seeing So many people talk about, her emergence into the league and, how it's being viewed by other players and former players and everything like that. And there's so many different opinions going on about it. I don't know. Is it one of those things where like there's no such thing as bad publicity? Um, you know, Give or take either way. I think bottom line, more people are watching these games. There's more WNBA games being broadcast, and there's more people taking interest in what's happening in that league. And granted, I don't want to see non-basketball plays happen. You never want to see people get hurt either, or anything like that. But if there is interest being gained among fans in the league, in the WNBA, I think that's a good thing. With Caitlin herself, she's coming in with a very popular draft class. There's no doubt about that. A lot of women that even this past March gave us a really, really, fun and exciting March Madness in the women's bracket. And so now people are vested in a lot of these rookies that are coming into the league and trying to establish themselves. And without a doubt, it's an interesting dynamic. I don't know if I would say Caitlin Clark is the face of that league, but nonetheless, she is a rookie who's trying to cement herself and, prove that she belongs and can be an impact player. And yeah, no doubt the women that have been in that league for a long time are like, well, we're going to, show you that this is a different level of ball. And so, if you pick her up at half court or you're guarding her really tight and everything, you gotta test her, right? You gotta test her. And I guess, a lot of people think some of that's gone a little far with some of the interactions that she's had. But either way, that's what I think on it is, she is trying to help grow the women's game. And if it makes for more competitive games and more people tuning in to see what's going on, checking scores, I think that's where the focus needs to be. Is like, man, we could see, the WNBA really take off. I mean, for me personally, I saw similar effects when I was growing up with LeBron James. I wasn't a basketball guy growing up. I played football, was, always into the baseball stuff. I probably started watching basketball at an age where LeBron James was the big, he's the prodigy and he's the phenom and he's supposed to be the next big guy in the league. And so there's a whole generation of basketball fans out there that have followed his career. They keep up with what's going on in the NBA and the playoffs and everything. And their interest in the league started because of LeBron James. Now, I think that you have that same opportunity where there's going to be a whole new generation of WNBA fans who are taking interest in that league because of Caitlin Clark. And sure, yeah, I mean, that might rub some other players the wrong way. But I think more people being interested in the sport and, wanting to tune into games is really where the conversation should shift. Moving on to some more Missouri-oriented news. Just the other day, Missouri State University announced their new head baseball coach, former shortstop of the Bears, Joey Hawkins. I think they used to call him Joey Bats or Joey Bunts or something like that. But he played for the Bears from 2012 to 2015. He was a team captain his 2 final years. And I think that 2015 squad, that was the year when they just had a really, really good year. They won the regular season conference championship. They won the conference tournament. They also hosted a regional that they won, and then fell one step short of the College World Series. They ended up falling in the super regional that year. But since then, Hawkins has been kind of on staff there at Missouri State. Most recently been the hitting coach for them, which they have been ranked up towards the top nationally during his tenure in home runs. Definitely have a lot of offensive output. Say what you want about the hire. Say what, you might have your opinions, but all I know is he's got big shoes to fill. We talk about Keith Gutton on this podcast from time to time, and he's retiring after 42 years as the head coach at Missouri State. He's set a standard. He has. And so that's going to be, a big role, a big undertaking for Hawkins, but he's been there. He's been a part of some of that success at Missouri State, and obviously wants to help them kind of maintain, some of that success and keep those expectations where they're at when it comes to, where they stand. And it's going to be a whole new outlook, right? They're going to Conference USA. They're going to be playing some new opponents. It's going to be very interesting. But what I'll say is, being that he's been in the program, he's been kind of around the mantras, right? And not only that, he's, he plays a piece in the recruiting too. So Kyle Motes made a statement that it became clear to him that, Joey was a great fit, and that, he would help kind of, help Missouri State, the baseball program during this kind of time of transition that they're in. So it's going to be, it's going to be a change, but definitely exciting news for the Missouri State Bears. Other big things that happened this weekend. If you're not a UFC fan, you might want to become a UFC fan. It's just, I don't know. It's an exciting sport to watch. It really is. It's obviously not for everybody. It's pretty intense. It's a violent sport, much like boxing, anything like that, But the UFC is just you want to talk about a league that's growing, an organization, a company that's growing. The UFC just continues to gain, new followers. And I really think it goes back to kind of like those storylines. You get invested in the fighters and their journeys, and just kind of their rise, to stardom as they're coming up through the ranks. This past weekend, Dustin Poirier was the big fight. He was the main card. He lost this past weekend, 5th round submission to the belt defender, the title defender, Islam Makhachev. It was a 5th round submission. It was one of those, really entertaining fights. Went into those championship rounds, 4th and 5th round. And unfortunately, Poirier, who it was kind of he wasn't the favorite, but a lot of people were wanting to see him win. He's had a really, really good career in the UFC, and was trying to get one last belt. And with the loss, he said he's uncertain about his future. Which is unfortunate, but that's what it takes, right? Is these storylines that people are able to follow. Poirier, he's, an American-born fighter. He was fighting Makhachev, who's a Russian-born fighter. So you kind of get like that sort of feud, if you will, right? It's kind of like that Rocky sort of, vibe where guys are like, we're rooting for Makhachev because he likes the way he fights, or we're rooting for Poirier because, we want to see an American get the belt back. And, it's just, it's always fun to kind of see how those things play out. And obviously Poirier, with his future being uncertain, we hope for the best for him, and maybe he won't be done. The next big fight though, that's coming up for the UFC that everybody is talking about is UFC 303. That's the return of Conor McGregor. He's supposed to fight Michael Chandler. But at this point, that bout is kind of uncertain. There was recently a cancellation of a press conference for the UFC 303 that was supposed to take place in Ireland. And then also 303, the promotional materials have been removed by the UFC from their standpoint, and also some of the stuff that they've had out on ESPN. So people are kind of speculating: is McGregor going to fight? Is he going to return? It's pretty grim, honestly. At this point, he was the face of the UFC for quite a period of time. Some people think he still is, even though it's been a long time since he's fought. He's been recovering from injuries here for a while. So there will be some potential disappointment if the fight gets canceled. Well, it wouldn't be a solo special episode without talking about some baseball. We've already talked about Women's College World Series. We've chatted up about, some of the recent teams that have been in action, but we got to talk about the MLB. I mean, man, how can you not be romantic about baseball, to quote, a classic Moneyball line right there. Shout out Brad Pitt, Springfield Mo, right? But seriously, what's more American than baseball? You just got to love it. You got to love, going to the field, summer weather, getting a brat, right? And honestly, what I love is when our Missouri teams are having some success. Cardinals have started off slow this year. I've been the first one to admit that, but they're really starting to kind of gain, a little bit of momentum. From what I've seen, they're going to be able, to keep pace somewhat. Can they keep pace with the Brewers? That's going to be the question. Winning games in the division is going to be so key for them. When they're playing division games, they have got to continue to make progress in the standings. They've gotten closer to 500. They flirted with it. They can't really get above that 500 line. But the pieces are there, right? They've got one of the best infields in baseball, I think. Mason Wynn has been phenomenal, right? He had that hit streak, that hit, I don't know what it was, 16, 18 game hitting streak for a little bit. I'd like to see the defense short up a little bit more. Obviously, he's got a huge cannon, but he's just kind of made some timely errors at times. But he's been a bright spot in what has been a slow start for the Cardinals that's kind of starting to get a little bit of momentum now. I think it's very apparent to me when it comes to St. Louis, there's just certain pieces that have to be there, that have to produce. Goldie, Arenado, both are going to have to anchor the offense. Arenado has been struggling greatly, but seems to kind of be getting his footing at the plate. Goldschmidt's really turned it on, right? Some big home runs here in recent games. They just have to set the tone for the rest of the lineup. Whenever your veteran leaders, and I'm not saying they have to knock home runs, out of the park every time they go up to the plate, but they just have to set the tone in terms of getting on base, drawing walks, being able to drive in runs with timely hitting. And when those two guys can set that tone, then you're going to have those other guys, right? Donovan and Nootbaar, that are going to be able to kind of tag along. Burleson, also, he's, his bat's never really been a question, but I really think it's played above expectation here of late. Another piece that's going to have to be there, though, is the bullpen. The bullpen has got to continue to solidify the back end of games for them. They've got some veterans that are starters, but they're older, right? So you can't expect those guys to go 7-8 innings every night. Your back end is going to have to come in and be reliable. And I think that they can be, but it's a matter of consistency. It's a matter of doing it, day in and day out. They were in Houston on Monday, had a lead, and bullpen failed them there. It's just that's without a question. They've got to solidify it up, and they've got to just be a sure thing if the Cardinals want to be able to continue to try and stay in the race. And I think if either of those pieces, be it the bullpen, the back end pitching, or be it your big time hitters, if either of those pieces aren't there, then I think the equation's not going to work this year. Switching gears, though, to a team that is, having a lot of success, a lot of hype around them, the Kansas City Royals, man. Talk about just timely hitting and really good starting pitching. Seth Lugo, my goodness, we had a chance to see him in person, and I mean, he's a good pitcher. He's had good spurts at times, but I think this is a year that could be revitalizing his career. You're talking about an early 30s guy who's been around the show for a little bit, and he's in a good spot. I think, he likes being the guy, and he's got good stuff, man. He's got good swing and miss stuff. And on top of that, just fills it up, throws a lot of strikes, can induce a lot of weak contact. They're in a different spot than the Cardinals in a lot of ways, but one of them being is their pitching and defense is taking a lot of pressure off the hitters, which can be a very, very successful formula that's able to be maintained over 162 games. You cannot say enough, though, about Bobby Witt Jr. I mean, he is going to be the face of that organization. He came up. He was one of those high prospects. Like anybody, it's taken him some time to really kind of get his footing, at the major league level. But the guy is just so exciting to watch. He's so solid in every aspect of the game. Definitely what I would consider to be a 5-tool guy. And I think more than anything, I'm not in the locker room. I don't have any sort of inside perspective. But from what I perceive, I think he just leads by example, and I think he just is able to shepherd men, right? I think, for lack of better terms, I think he's just able to really kind of draw everybody into him. And then on top of that, whenever you're the one that's kind of setting the bar in terms of offensive output, everybody else is following suit. I've said it on this podcast before. The Royals can go as far as their pitching and their timely hitting can take them. But it just looks to me like a crew that's just got a little bit of that magic. They've got a little bit of, that swagger that they're playing with. And, they're kind of moving around with some confidence. You can just kind of see it in the body language. And they're just, their rally cry, the boys are playing some ball, really kind of exemplifies that. It's awesome to see, what they're doing. I have had the opportunity to speak with, some former execs in the Royals, also Eric Hosmer recently, about his opinions on this team. And a lot of guys think that they kind of have that spark that, they saw here about a decade ago almost, when they made some deep playoff runs and won a World Series. The question is not there anymore in my mind, in terms of, can they produce? Can they be able, to do it consistently? No, I think they're going to. It's just a matter of just getting hot and continuing to ride those waves that come with the ups and downs of the season. We're going to keep it short today. If you've made it this far in the episode, thank you so much for joining us. New episodes every Wednesday, as always, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube. Keep up to date with everything that's going on at the Hall of Fame. Follow us on our socials. We've had a lot of fun events that have been happening here recently. A large golf event at Highland Springs this past weekend. And also the Price Cutter Charity Championship is kicking up pretty soon. The summer golf Corn Ferry Tour event that we host here in July. It's July 18th through the 21st this year. You can follow those socials as well. We'll link them below in the podcast description. But share the episode with your friends, leave us a review, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Where the Game Lives On.